This PowerPoint presentation will help you become more familiar with the political process that comes before actual elections. Understanding this process may help you to be more involved in advancing the goals of our schools in Utah. So what is the process? Well, neighbors gather in March for an election year in caucus meetings. Sometimes these meetings are also called mass meetings or precinct meetings. There they choose representatives from their area who will select candidates for office. These representatives are called delegates. Delegates are needed to select both county and state candidates in county conventions and the state conventions. A person may be selected as a county delegate or a state delegate, or they may be selected as both a county and state delegate. Caucus meetings are meetings held in churches, schools, and other neighborhood locations, for instance, a person's home. The meetings are held separately for Republicans and Democrats. In other words, they do not meet together. Tell me more about neighborhood meetings. Neighborhood meetings or caucus meetings are held by a political party in a local school or other building close to your home. In some areas of the state, it may actually be in someone's home. You must declare membership in the Republican Party to vote or become a delegate in that party's caucus meeting. There are no requirements of declaration for party membership in the Democratic caucus. There you could be an independent, a Democrat, or a member of another party. You may not be denied entry into the caucus meeting just because you may differ on the party's platform, current initiatives, or views of office holders. Donations are sought, platforms are read, elections are held, and meetings are run by parliamentary procedure. You may choose your party and choose to attend or not. No one can bar you from your attendance if you are a member of the caucus's party. Donations are not required, and allegiance to all of the platform items is also optional. You may wish to review parliamentary procedure before you attend so you can follow the motions and votes. If you intend to become a delegate, you will want to carefully study the key basics of parliamentary procedure so that you ensure an understanding of how you might be elected. What is the difference between county and state conventions? Delegates selected to attend the state convention may select candidates for U.S. Congress from Utah, candidates for governor, lieutenant governor, candidates for other state offices, and some candidates for the Utah legislature if their districts cross county lines. Delegates selected to attend the county convention may select most candidates for the Utah legislature and candidates for county seats and offices. State and county conventions are held in large auditoriums or ballrooms. Many are held in high schools in Utah. Delegates are expected to attend 2 to 3 meetings per year. The state convention is usually a full day on Saturday each year. County conventions can be a full day in urban areas and large counties, or may be on a weeknight in rural areas and just be a couple of hours. Separate conventions are held for Republicans and Democrats. If you run for delegate, you may wish to determine which type of office holders you would like to vote on, state or county. Why should those who support children's issues become involved? Delegates can select the candidate most likely to understand and support Utah's children's issues and public schools. An example. As a percentage of personal income, legislative funding for public education has dramatically decreased in the past 2 decades. The Utah Foundation is a nonprofit organization with an independent board of directors. The foundation is not connected to the public school system in Utah, but often studies matters that have public policy implications. The foundation calls the decline in school funding since 1995 unprecedented. In 1995, for every $1,000 of personal income, $56 went to public education. In 2011, that figure slipped to $41, and this in spite of the fact that schools face more daunting teaching challenges now than in the past. It is not, the report claims, that the actual appropriations have diminished over time, but the funding levels have grown slower than Utah's economy as measured by personal income. In other words, the effort to supply adequate funding for education in Utah has decreased dramatically in the last 16 years. Currently, the foundation writes, Utah's per pupil spending for K-12 public education is last in the nation and has been since 1988. Adequate funding ensures smaller class sizes, access to student interventions and acceleration options, quality reading, math, and writing programs, technology and software, counselors who can guide and help students, and these are among just some of the many other needed educational services. With those who support children and public education across the state voting in caucus meetings, you can ensure good representation, even if you yourself chose not to become a delegate. To become meaningfully involved, you will want to prepare early. Now you should study the issues relating to children. In January, watch the legislative proceedings and make contacts by email, phone, or in person with legislators to influence their thinking and action. In March, prepare to become a delegate and attend your local caucus meetings. They are held on March 13th for the Democratic caucus and March 15th for the Republican caucus. We encourage you to mark those dates on your calendar and plan to attend either the Democratic or Republican caucus, so you can vote to support children in our public schools and possibly to run as a delegate or to support a delegate that supports your positions. Where your vote counts most. Your vote carries more weight at a caucus or a convention than on election night. In a party caucus, which is held in March, neighbors elect delegates. You then go to the party conventions in April and May. 50 to 60 delegates will elect a candidate. If a candidate cannot get 60%, there's a primary election. After the primary election, there will be the general election in November. Tens of thousands of people vote. In January, the legislative session starts. There are very few opportunities to influence legislators, unless, of course, you are a delegate. The caucus meeting is not only the beginning of the legislative and election process, it may be the most important part. It is one of the most important and influential ways you can strengthen advocacy for Utah's children, their schools, and the funds that support them. Delegates have power. Delegates narrow the ballot in every race in Utah. They have extraordinary power to influence the outcome of elections. For the last several years, many races in Utah have been one-party races, so that those who are elected by delegates are almost assured a win in the general election. Candidates for office in Utah can focus on getting the delegate vote, and then they may give less attention to the general public during and after the election. All citizens can be advocates for public school children by influencing and empowering delegates. Delegates narrow the field of candidates from several to 2 in every race. The final 2 go on the ballot for the primaries election. That is why delegates have so much power. And that is how some elected officials are eliminated before even being able to get their name on the ballot for the general election. Delegates actually eliminate many candidates who have filed long before general elections are held, and the candidates know that. They spend a great deal of time and money seeking the attention and vote of each delegate. More recently in Utah, blocks of delegates have made veiled threats of ensuring that some actively serving politician will not get through convention. What they mean is, while in convention, these delegates will vote as a block of delegates against the candidate being on the ballot, even if the candidate has already been serving and is supported by the majority of the public. This has come to some claiming in Utah that a small minority is controlling the political process instead of the majority who go to vote on Election Day. As a result, many business people, Chamber of Commerce leaders, educators, and some government leaders are calling for major changes in the electoral system in Utah. As one well-known newsman said, small groups that show up will always have more power than large groups that stay home. It is critical that those who support the needs of children and who advocate for public schools show up at the caucus meetings. How can I become a delegate? Plan to attend the caucus meeting and plan ahead of the meeting to be nominated by a friend or neighbor. Bring many friends and supporters with you to the meeting so they can vote for you and for reasonable platform language. Prepare brief remarks to introduce yourself and provide information about why you wish to become a delegate. Why should I become a delegate? Candidates get to know you. They get to meet you personally and ask you questions. That's from Dave Hansen, former state GOP chair. You have the candidate's attention because you ultimately could make or break their candidacy. They will seek you out, and you can influence their views on issues related to children, including telling them of your expectation of support for public schools. You will have a degree of influence and power over the election process by becoming a delegate. You can expect to be invited to a number of social events hosted by candidates for office. You can also expect many mailings and some phone calls from candidates. It will be important for you to be well informed by them and to inform yourself about their record of support for public education. Listen to their views, but also check their voting records on public education and issues about children to see what their actions were. Begin early to become a delegate. To ensure your eligibility to be a delegate, be sure you have registered in the party of your choice. Find out which voting precinct you live in and where your caucus meeting will be held. You can do that by going to vote.utah.gov/county-clerk. Arrive at your caucus meeting at least 10 minutes early. Greet others as they enter the room. Bring 10 to 20 neighborhood friends to the caucus who will vote for you. Ask someone to nominate you. Be prepared with remarks and expect some questions, opposition about your views. Speak strongly for public education and be tactful in discussing contentious matters. Remember that your meeting will be held with your neighbors, people you wish to be friendly with throughout your association. Be approachable and open in your caucus meeting. Answer questions directly and ask direct but not contentious questions of other candidates. Be prepared to speak in support of your public school and to seek a direct answer from others about their support for children and schools. Do not allow a contentious debate to ensue. When you don't know the answer to a question or you haven't thought through your policy position, indicate that you will study the issue and listen to others about their opinions and then formulate your own. Do not promise something you cannot deliver on or promise a vote that you do not intend to give. You should also be aware of some of the other issues besides education that your neighbors and friends are concerned about that may be brought up during the discussions. Be committed to serving your community. Altering state and county leadership to be more supportive of children's issues and public education will take several election cycles. Once you are a delegate, please plan to continue your service long enough to influence the elections so that children-friendly leaders are chosen. If you're not a delegate, never miss a caucus meeting so you can vote for pro-public education people. In order to correct the current caucus problem, where a small minority is controlling the elections that should belong to the larger majority, it will take time and continued effort. Attending the caucus meetings regularly and becoming a delegate is a wonderful beginning. Continuing to be a delegate will be the best way to alter the course of our electoral system. How do I register to vote? First, go to gva1.utah.gov/election/polling.aspx. There you'll enter your name, your birth date, the county, and your street address. This slide looks very similar to the one that you will actually see on the website. Please remember that all activities involving your declaration of party and registering for voting must be done on your own time and on your own computer. You may not use work computers or work time for these purposes. As you may have noticed, our presentation today on your own time has been without discussion of party persuasion or whom you might vote for. Today's presentation has been focused solely on learning how to become a delegate and on your collective need as educators, parents, and others who support children and public schools to get more involved in the early processes of elections. That involvement is key to ensuring healthy and happy children and strong public schools. Here is what a sample voting information form might look like. It reminds you where to vote, what your party is, what precinct you're in, the date that you vote, and of course has your name on it. This PowerPoint has been developed and sponsored by a group of concerned parents, business people, government leaders, and educators called the Utahns for Public Schools. You are welcome to log on to their website at www.utahnsforpublicschools.org for additional information about education issues and to review this PowerPoint. We urge you to attend your caucus meetings in March. That is March 13th for Democrats and March 15th for Republicans. The meeting locations and starting times will be announced in local newspapers and other media as well as on various websites, including a link on the site for Utahns for Public Schools. Once you learn of the location and time, share it with your friends who will attend with you and consider becoming delegates themselves. Thank you for all you do to support children and schools in our area. We appreciate your dedicated service and amazing commitment.